It was an ordinary morning at Heathrow Airport, one of the busiest aviation hubs in the world. Known as a gateway to the skies, this sprawling complex had seen millions of passengers pass through its gates over the decades. But on this day, amidst the bustling activity and routine operations, a flight was preparing for departure, a flight that would soon carve its name into the annals of aviation history for all the wrong reasons. British Airways Flight 870 was scheduled to take off on a seemingly unremarkable journey. It was a route the airline had operated countless times before, connecting London to Istanbul. For the crew and passengers, it was a day like any other. They couldn't have known that this flight would soon be shrouded in mystery, speculation, and tragedy, a story that would leave aviation experts and investigators perplexed for years to come. Inside the terminal, a mosaic of human stories unfolded. Passengers moved through the gates, some chatting excitedly, others quietly sipping their morning coffee. Families embraced as they said their goodbyes, and business travelers checked their emails one last time before boarding. The camera lingers on a young couple standing at gate 14, their faces a mixture of excitement and anticipation. The man, holding a small bouquet of flowers, appeared to be heading to Istanbul to propose to his longtime partner. A mother with 2 children struggled to keep them entertained while ensuring she didn't misplace her boarding passes. Among the 168 passengers and crew aboard Flight 870 were individuals with diverse backgrounds, stories, and dreams. There were vacationers eager to explore Istanbul's vibrant markets and ancient architecture, business professionals with briefcases full of ambitions, and families reuniting with loved ones. The flight was under the command of Captain Robert Hughes, a seasoned pilot with over 20 years of experience. Known for his calm demeanor and methodical approach, Captain Hughes was a respected figure among his peers. His co-pilot, First Officer Emily Carter, was equally competent, having logged thousands of flight hours on the Boeing 767. Together, they formed a crew that passengers could trust implicitly. The aircraft itself, a Boeing 767-300ER, was a marvel of engineering, a sturdy workhorse of the skies. British Airways had meticulously maintained it, ensuring it met all safety protocols. As ground crew conducted their final checks, the aircraft gleamed under the morning sun, its British Airways insignia standing as a symbol of reliability and excellence. Visual close-ups of the ground crew inspecting the aircraft, refueling and loading luggage. Inside, the flight attendants are seen conducting pre-flight checks and preparing the cabin for passengers. The calm professionalism of the crew mirrored the efficiency of the ground staff. The aircraft was fueled, the baggage was securely stowed, and catering services delivered meals for the journey. Flight attendants went through their routine safety checks, ensuring that everything from seat belts to emergency equipment was in perfect condition. At the boarding gate, the final call for Flight 870 was announced. Passengers slowly made their way onto the plane, greeted warmly by the cabin crew. Each individual carried their own hopes, worries, and plans, unaware that their journey would soon take an unforeseen turn. As the last passenger boarded, the cabin door was sealed, and the pushback process began. The Boeing 767 taxied to the runway, its engines roaring to life with a power that belied the silence of the cabin. Inside, passengers settled into their seats, some reading newspapers, others gazing out the windows at the sprawling airport below. The air traffic control tower cleared the aircraft for takeoff. British Airways 870, you are cleared for runway 27R. Winds at 5 knots. Proceed when ready. Captain Hughes acknowledged the clearance, his voice steady and composed. Copy, tower. Flight 870 cleared for takeoff. Thank you. The takeoff was smooth, a textbook departure. As the aircraft soared into the skies, the sprawling urban landscape of London faded into a patchwork of green fields and winding rivers. Passengers leaned back, some closing their eyes, others looking forward to the in-flight meal service. The cabin crew began their duties, moving gracefully through the aisles with practiced efficiency. For them, this was another routine day in the skies. Yet, even as the passengers and crew settled into the flight, a sense of foreboding seemed to linger in the air, a silent prelude to the events that would soon unfold. What happened next would defy conventional understanding. British Airways Flight 870, equipped with state-of-the-art technology and manned by an experienced crew, would soon vanish from radar. The questions this incident raised would baffle aviation experts and investigators alike. How could a flight so carefully monitored and controlled simply disappear? The answers would lie not just in the wreckage that was eventually discovered, but also in the haunting stories of those on board, the frantic efforts of air traffic controllers, and the tireless investigations that followed. The mystery of British Airways Flight 870 was about to unfold, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and speculation that persists to this day. This is the story of a flight that went dark, a journey that began with hope and ended in silence, a silence that echoes in the annals of aviation history. This expanded opening immerses the audience in the environment, the human stories, and the technical setup of the flight, setting the stage for the mysterious events that follow. British Airways Flight 870 wasn't just another routine journey, it represented the essence of international travel in the 1990s. It was a time when global aviation was booming, connecting cities and nations like never before. British Airways, a pioneer of commercial aviation, stood at the forefront of this revolution, renowned for its impeccable service, modern fleet, and extensive global routes. The flight itself, numbered 870, was a standard route that linked London Heathrow to Istanbul Ataturk Airport. This route served as a vital corridor between Western Europe and the bustling cultural and economic hub of Turkey. Istanbul, a city where East meets West, drew travelers from around the world, making this flight a staple in British Airways' schedule. The passengers aboard Flight 870 reflected this diversity. Among the 168 people on board were tourists, professionals, and families. Some were seasoned travelers familiar with the routine of flying, while others embarked on what might have been their first ever flight. There was a mix of excitement and calm among the passengers, each carrying their own stories, ambitions, and destinations in life. The aircraft for this journey was a Boeing 767-300ER, a symbol of modern aviation at the time. Introduced in the 1980s, the 767 was celebrated for its long-haul capabilities, fuel efficiency, and spacious interior. Its wide-body design offered comfort and reliability, making it a favorite for both passengers and airlines. For British Airways, this particular Boeing 767 was a workhorse of their fleet. It had undergone rigorous maintenance checks before takeoff, ensuring that every component, from its engines to its avionics systems, was in peak condition. Its twin General Electric CF6 engines were engineered to provide exceptional power and reliability, enabling smooth operations across international routes. At the helm of this flight were two experienced pilots. Captain Robert Hughes, a veteran with more than 2 decades of experience, had an unblemished record and was highly regarded for his calm and methodical approach to flying. By his side was First Officer Emily Carter, a rising star in the aviation industry, who had logged thousands of flight hours and was known for her meticulous attention to detail. Their partnership was built on mutual respect and a shared commitment to safety. Together, they conducted their pre-flight checks, reviewing weather patterns, fuel calculations, and navigational details. The meticulous routine was a testament to their professionalism, ensuring the flight would proceed without incident, or so they believed. The 1990s were a dynamic period for international relations and aviation. The Cold War had ended, and globalization was on the rise. Turkey, the flight's destination, was emerging as a key player on the world stage, balancing its rich cultural history with modern economic ambitions. Istanbul, in particular, was a hub of commerce and tourism, attracting visitors from all corners of the globe. This made the London-Istanbul route a crucial link, not just for business and leisure, but also for fostering cross-cultural connections. British Airways recognized this importance and ensured that flights like 870 upheld the highest standards of service and efficiency. For the passengers, the journey symbolized more than just travel. For some, it was a chance to explore new opportunities in Istanbul's thriving markets. For others, it was a homecoming, a reunion with loved ones they hadn't seen in years. A young woman sitting near the window was preparing to meet her fiancé, while a retired couple eagerly looked forward to their first vacation abroad since their children had grown up. Each passenger carried their own aspirations, emotions, and plans, unaware that the next few hours would change the course of their lives forever. On the ground, the preparation for Flight 870 was meticulous. British Airways prided itself on its operational excellence, and the ground crew worked tirelessly to ensure the aircraft was ready for departure. Engineers inspected the engines, technicians calibrated the avionics systems, and loaders carefully stowed the baggage. The flight attendants, a highly trained team of professionals, prepared the cabin for the journey. They ensured that safety briefings were complete, emergency equipment was in place, and the passengers' needs were anticipated. Their smiles and warm greetings added a touch of humanity to the mechanical precision of the aviation world. As the final boarding call was announced, the passengers made their way onto the aircraft, greeted by the cheerful flight attendants. The doors were sealed, and the plane began to taxi towards the runway. Little did anyone know, this was the beginning of a journey that would soon vanish into the shadows of history, leaving behind only questions and the echoes of those last moments on the ground. This expanded section delves into the details of the aircraft, its crew, passengers, and the geopolitical context, providing a vivid, immersive backdrop to the unfolding mystery. At precisely 7:45 a.m. local time, British Airways Flight 870 lifted off from Heathrow. The skies above London were clear, offering near-perfect conditions for the aircraft's journey to Istanbul. For the crew, the flight's initial phase was entirely routine. The aircraft ascended to its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet, and the autopilot system was engaged. As the Boeing 767 cruised over Western Europe, the hum of the engines created a comforting rhythm in the cabin. Passengers reclined in their seats, some dozing off while others flipped through magazines or watched in-flight entertainment. The crew in the cockpit followed their pre-planned route, maintaining constant communication with air traffic control at TC. The first 2 hours of the flight passed without incident. Everything appeared normal, fuel levels were optimal, navigation systems functioned seamlessly, and the weather was stable. However, just after the flight crossed into Eastern European airspace, things began to change. At approximately 9:57 a.m., a subtle but concerning irregularity was noted on the aircraft's instrumentation. The autopilot began to disengage intermittently, prompting the crew to manually take control. Captain Hughes, seated in the left-hand seat, noted a slight vibration in the aircraft. He exchanged a glance with First Officer Carter, who immediately began checking the engine performance indicators. Engine 1, showing a minor drop in pressure, Carter reported, her voice calm but tinged with curiosity. The crew began troubleshooting, referring to their operational manuals for guidance. By 10:02 a.m. the situation became more pressing. The vibration intensified, accompanied by a faint but discernible drop in engine thrust. At TC, monitoring the flight's progress, noticed a deviation from its planned path. British Airways 870. Confirm your current heading, came a calm yet curious voice from the control tower in Budapest. Captain Hughes responded promptly, his tone steady. At TC Budapest. This is British Airways 870. We are experiencing minor technical issues, adjusting course temporarily. We'll advise further. The crew's decision to alter the flight path was a precautionary measure. They aimed to stabilize the aircraft and assess whether the issue could be resolved without escalating into an emergency. For those in the cabin, the change was barely noticeable. A faint vibration ran through the floor beneath their feet, but there was no indication of alarm from the crew. Flight attendants continued their service, smiling and offering refreshments, masking any unease they might have felt. The Boeing 767's redundancy systems were designed to handle such scenarios. With 2 engines, the aircraft could operate safely even if one engine experienced issues. However, as the minutes ticked by, the technical problems appeared to worsen. By 10:15 a.m., the pressure readings on the left engine dropped further, and the crew noted inconsistencies in the aircraft's avionics system. The autopilot disengaged entirely, forcing Captain Hughes to manually control the flight. We need to manage this carefully, he said, his voice measured but resolute. First Officer Carter began running through emergency checklists, cross-referencing potential causes for the anomalies. At 10:22 a.m., communication between Flight 870 and a TC began to falter. Static filled the radio channels, making it increasingly difficult for the crew to convey their status. Despite repeated attempts, their transmissions were garbled and incomplete. British Airways 870. Please confirm your altitude and heading ATC repeated, their voices tinged with growing concern. A faint reply crackled through the speakers. Descending to the transmission cut off abruptly, leaving ATC operators staring at their screens in confusion. The situation escalated rapidly. By 10:30 a.m., the left engine's thrust had deteriorated significantly, and the avionics systems began displaying erratic readings. Altitude fluctuated, and the crew struggled to maintain stability. To make matters worse, the cabin's pressurization system showed signs of failure, prompting the oxygen masks to deploy automatically. Passengers gasped as the masks dropped from overhead compartments. Flight attendants moved quickly, instructing passengers to secure their masks and remain calm. For many, the gravity of the situation began to sink in. Visual close-ups of passengers' faces, some pale with fear, others clutching hands or silently praying. A child clings to their parent, tears streaming down their face. The once calm cabin was now filled with tension. The reassuring smiles of the flight attendants did little to ease the growing anxiety among passengers. Everyone understood that something was wrong, but the crew's professionalism prevented outright panic. Meanwhile, ATC scrambled to regain contact with Flight 870. Calls were made to nearby control centers, requesting assistance in tracking the aircraft. Military radar was activated to monitor the plane's trajectory, but the data it provided was incomplete and erratic. By 10:37 a.m., the aircraft's radar blip disappeared entirely. One moment it was there, and the next it was gone, a sudden and inexplicable loss of visibility. ATC operators exchanged worried glances. "We've lost them," one whispered, their voice barely audible over the tension in the control room. For the passengers, time seemed to stretch endlessly. Seconds felt like minutes as the aircraft shuddered and struggled to maintain altitude. Some clung to hope, others succumbed to despair. Each person aboard Flight 870 carried their own thoughts, fears, and unanswered questions. By 10:45 a.m., the aircraft was no longer responding predictably to the pilot's inputs. The loss of thrust on the left engine, combined with avionics malfunctions, made it nearly impossible to stabilize the descent. Despite their best efforts, Captain Hughes and First Officer Carter were fighting against an insurmountable tide of technical failures. As Flight 870 plunged further into the unknown, the events on board grew more chaotic. Passengers held onto their loved ones, their faces etched with fear. In the cockpit, the crew worked tirelessly, their voices firm but edged with urgency. The aircraft disappeared from radar, leaving ATC and aviation experts to grapple with the horrifying reality. What could have caused such a catastrophic failure? Was it a mechanical issue, human error, or something more sinister? The final moments of British Airways Flight 870 would remain a haunting mystery, etched into the memories of those who tried to make sense of the unthinkable. This section provides a detailed narrative of the chain of events, maintaining suspense while weaving in technical, emotional, and visual elements. It refrains from concluding, leaving the audience immersed in the unfolding crisis. The disappearance of British Airways Flight 870 triggered an unprecedented response from aviation authorities, rescue teams, and governments around the globe. Within hours of losing radar contact, emergency operations were mobilized to locate the aircraft and determine the fate of its passengers and crew. The first step was to establish the probable crash zone, a daunting task given the vast and remote regions Flight 870 had traversed. The aircraft's last confirmed position placed it over a desolate area of Eastern Europe, a region encompassing dense forests, rugged terrain, and isolated villages. Search teams faced the challenge of combing through thousands of square miles of unforgiving landscape. The initial phase of the search concentrated on areas where radar contact had been lost. Satellite imagery was analyzed for signs of wreckage, while nearby villages were contacted for any reports of unusual sights or sounds. Despite their efforts, the search teams encountered no immediate evidence of the missing aircraft. Complicating the search was the aircraft's sudden disappearance from radar. Normally, a plane that encounters difficulties will send out a distress signal, providing vital data about its location and condition. However, in the case of Flight 870, there was no such signal. The abrupt loss of communication and radar visibility left investigators grappling with a frustrating lack of information. The search was further hindered by adverse weather conditions. Heavy rain and low visibility hampered aerial operations, while muddy terrain slowed ground teams. Local authorities provided support, but the sheer size of the search area overwhelmed even the most experienced rescue personnel. As news of the disappearance spread, global attention turned to the plight of Flight 870. Families of the passengers and crew waited anxiously for updates, their grief and frustration mounting with each passing day. In London and Istanbul, British Airways set up crisis response centers to provide support for relatives. At the same time, international aviation organizations joined the effort. The United Nations Civil Aviation Organization ICAO and major airline manufacturers lent expertise and resources, hoping to unravel the mystery. Visual: a search vessel on a riverbank, crew members pointing at a fragment of the aircraft's fuselage partially submerged in water. On the fifth day of the search, a breakthrough occurred. A fisherman in a remote village reported finding metal fragments scattered along the edge of a river. Within hours, a search team confirmed that the debris belonged to British Airways Flight 870. The discovery of the debris field brought relief to search teams but also deepened the mystery. The scattered nature of the wreckage suggested a high-impact crash, but its location was far from the flight's expected path. Investigators struggled to reconcile how the aircraft could have deviated so significantly from its planned route. Attention quickly turned to the aircraft's flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder, commonly known as the black boxes. These devices were critical for understanding the sequence of events leading to the crash. However, locating the black boxes presented a significant challenge. The debris field was spread across a wide area, suggesting the possibility that the black boxes might be submerged or buried. Specialized equipment, including underwater drones and sonar devices, was brought in to aid the search. Each day brought painstaking progress as teams sifted through wreckage, hoping for a breakthrough. As the investigation unfolded, several theories began to emerge. One possibility was catastrophic engine failure, given the reported issues with the left engine before communication was lost. Another theory suggested a sudden loss of cabin pressure, which could have incapacitated the crew and passengers. Adding to the complexity were reports of unusual atmospheric conditions in the area. Local meteorological data indicated the possibility of severe turbulence and wind shear, factors that could have overwhelmed the aircraft systems. This is one of the most perplexing cases in recent aviation history, said Dr. Elaine Carter, a leading expert in air safety. We're dealing with multiple layers of uncertainty, technical issues, human factors, and environmental challenges. It's a perfect storm of complications. Investigators also considered the possibility of human error. While the crew of Flight 870 was highly experienced, even the most skilled pilots can make critical mistakes under pressure. Simulations were run to recreate the flight's final moments, providing insight into how such errors might have occurred. The condition of the wreckage offered some important insights. Certain components showed signs of mechanical stress, while others bore evidence of extreme heat, possibly indicating an onboard fire. Investigators analyzed every detail, from the composition of fuel residue to the alignment of rivets, piecing together the story of Flight 870's demise. For the families of those on board, the investigation's slow progress was a source of immense frustration. Many felt that critical questions were being left unanswered, fueling speculation and conspiracy theories. Was there a hidden factor being overlooked? Could the disappearance of Flight 870 be the result of sabotage, terrorism, or an unknown technological flaw? Despite the challenges, the investigation also highlighted the resilience and determination of the global aviation community. Every detail uncovered brought the world closer to understanding what had gone wrong. Each piece of wreckage, each data point, and each eyewitness account played a role in unraveling the mystery of Flight 870. Teams continued their search with unwavering focus, driven by the hope that the black boxes would eventually be recovered. Their discovery, investigators believed, would provide the answers everyone so desperately sought. The mystery surrounding British Airways Flight 870 captivated aviation enthusiasts, investigators, and the general public alike. in the absence of definitive answers, so a series of theories and speculations emerged, each attempting to unravel the events that led to the aircraft's disappearance. From technical failures to human error, and even the influence of geopolitical tensions, the possible explanations were as varied as they were compelling. One of the most widely discussed theories centered on a catastrophic engine failure. The Boeing aircraft used for Flight 870 was renowned for its reliability. But no machine is immune to mechanical breakdowns. Investigators highlighted the possibility of a turbine blade fracture, which could have caused an uncontained engine failure. This would have sent debris flying at high speed, potentially damaging critical systems, including the hydraulic controls and fuel tanks. Aviation expert Dr. Marcus Patel explained, "Engine failures, while rare, are not unheard of. Modern planes are designed to operate safely with a single engine, but if the failure triggers a chain reaction such as a fuel fire or loss of hydraulic pressure, it can quickly spiral into a disaster." Another theory proposed that the aircraft may have suffered a structural failure. Investigators examined the aircraft's maintenance history, looking for evidence of metal fatigue or undetected damage. Even the smallest crack in a critical component can grow over time, especially under the intense pressures of repeated takeoffs and landings. Archival records revealed that the plane had undergone routine inspections shortly before the flight, but some experts questioned whether all potential vulnerabilities were addressed. Structural engineer Janet Lai commented, "It's rare, but not impossible, for a seemingly minor defect to evade detection during inspections. Under the right conditions, turbulence, high-altitude stresses, this can result in a catastrophic event." In the days following the disappearance, speculation about terrorism began to dominate the news cycle. With global tensions high during the late 1990s, security experts raised the possibility of sabotage or a deliberate act of violence against the aircraft. Some reports pointed to an unverified claim from a fringe group, though authorities were quick to dismiss its credibility. Airport security protocols at the time were scrutinized, with critics questioning whether a bomb or unauthorized individual could have slipped past checkpoints. However, no concrete evidence of foul play was uncovered during the initial investigation. The possibility of a sudden cabin depressurization also became a leading theory. Rapid decompression can incapacitate the crew and passengers within seconds, leaving the aircraft effectively uncontrollable. The flight data would have likely shown altitude fluctuations, but without the black boxes, this theory remains speculative. Veteran pilot Captain Raymond Harris noted, "Depressurization can be caused by a variety of factors: structural breaches, valve malfunctions, or even external impacts. The crew's ability to respond quickly is critical, but if they're overcome by hypoxia, it's nearly impossible to regain control." Weather played a significant role in many theories about the disappearance. Records indicated that Flight 870 encountered a region of severe turbulence and potential wind shear shortly before losing contact. Some experts proposed that this turbulence might have placed undue stress on the aircraft, exacerbating any pre-existing mechanical or structural issues. Adding another layer of intrigue was the possibility of geomagnetic anomalies. While rare, certain regions of the atmosphere can experience disruptions in magnetic fields, which can interfere with navigation systems. This theory gained traction among conspiracy enthusiasts, though it lacked strong scientific backing. Human error, a factor in many aviation incidents, was another angle explored by investigators. The flight crew of BA 870 was experienced and well-trained, but even the most seasoned professionals are not immune to mistakes. Under high-stress situations, such as responding to multiple system failures, even minor misjudgments can have catastrophic consequences. Aviation psychologist Dr. Sophia Carter elaborated, "Pilots operate under immense pressure, especially during emergencies. Fatigue, tunnel vision, and miscommunication can all impair decision-making, leading to outcomes that seem inexplicable in hindsight. Some speculated that Flight 870 might have collided with another aircraft, particularly a smaller, privately operated plane. Mid-air collisions, while rare, are not impossible, especially in regions with high air traffic density and limited radar coverage." However, no other aircraft were reported missing or damaged in the area, making this theory less likely. The limitations of satellite tracking systems in the 1990s added to the difficulty of piecing together the flight's final moments. Unlike modern systems, which provide near real-time updates, older radar systems were prone to gaps in coverage, particularly over remote areas. Investigators considered whether Flight 870 could have experienced an event just outside radar range, leaving it effectively invisible to ground stations. Adding to the speculation were accounts from local residents near the presumed crash zone. Some reported hearing loud booms or seeing streaks of light in the sky, fueling theories of an explosion or electrical failure. While these accounts were investigated, their reliability remained in question due to inconsistencies and the lack of corroborating evidence. Another layer of complexity was introduced by the geopolitical climate at the time. The flight's route passed through regions of heightened military activity, raising questions about the possibility of accidental targeting or interception. While there was no direct evidence to support this theory, it remained a topic of intense debate among analysts. As the theories grew more numerous, so did the challenges of discerning fact from speculation. Each new piece of evidence seemed to support a different hypothesis, creating a web of possibilities that even seasoned investigators struggled to untangle. Theories of sabotage, technical failure, human error, and natural phenomena all competed for attention, each offering a potential piece of the puzzle, but leaving many questions unanswered. This section provides a detailed exploration of the various theories surrounding the disappearance of British Airways Flight 870, presenting each one with its supporting evidence and leaving room for further investigation without concluding the narrative. The disappearance of British Airways Flight 870, though shrouded in mystery, left an indelible mark on the aviation industry. Incidents of this magnitude do more than captivate public attention, they drive transformational change. This tragedy forced aviation experts, regulators, and airlines to reassess protocols, introduce innovative safety measures, and revisit long-standing assumptions about air travel. One of the most immediate impacts was the overhaul of pilot training programs. Scenarios involving simultaneous failures of multiple systems, once considered improbable, became a staple of simulator training. These advanced simulations equip pilots with the skills to manage unprecedented crises, ensuring they can remain calm and composed under pressure. Captain Sandra Blake, a seasoned aviation instructor, remarked, "Incidents like BA 870 remind us that no situation is too unlikely to prepare for. Modern simulators allow us to replicate highly complex failures, giving pilots the tools they need to navigate the unknown." The limitations in tracking Flight 870's final moments highlighted critical gaps in the radar and satellite systems of the 1990s. This tragedy underscored the urgent need for real-time flight tracking capabilities. In response, aviation authorities worldwide began investing in advanced systems such as ADS-B automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, which provides constant updates on an aircraft's position, altitude, and speed. These systems allow air traffic controllers and airlines to monitor flights with unparalleled precision, even in remote regions where traditional radar coverage is sparse. As a result, modern passengers can travel with greater confidence, knowing their aircraft is under constant surveillance. The disappearance of Flight 870 reignited discussions about black box technology. Aviation experts questioned the limitations of traditional recorders, which rely on being physically recovered to analyze data. In light of this incident, there was a renewed push for deployable flight recorders devices that could detach from the aircraft during a crash and float on water, transmitting location signals to rescuers. Another innovation inspired by this tragedy was the development of cloud-based data storage for flight information. By transmitting key flight data in real time to secure servers, investigators can access critical information even if the aircraft is never recovered. The communication loss experienced by Flight 870 exposed vulnerabilities in existing systems. Modern aircraft now come equipped with multiple layers of redundancy to ensure uninterrupted communication between pilots and ground control. Technologies such as SATCOM satellite communication and CPDLC controller pilot data link communications have become standard, allowing seamless dialogue even in the most remote regions. These advancements have significantly reduced the risk of losing contact with an aircraft, ensuring that pilots can always convey their status and receive critical updates. The tragedy also underscored the importance of rigorous cabin crew training. While pilots are the primary decision-makers in emergencies, flight attendants play a crucial role in ensuring passenger safety. Modern training programs place greater emphasis on scenario-based exercises, teaching crew members how to handle everything from in-flight fires to water landings. These measures not only save lives during emergencies, but also instill confidence in passengers, reinforcing the perception that air travel remains one of the safest modes of transportation. The international search for Flight 870 highlighted the need for better coordination between countries during aviation crises. This incident served as a catalyst for agreements between governments, airlines, and search organizations to share resources and expertise. Modern search and rescue efforts are now more streamlined, with predefined protocols for rapid deployment of assets and information sharing. Such cooperation ensures that no matter where an aircraft is lost, there is a coordinated global effort to locate it and provide closure to affected families. For passengers, the legacy of Flight 870 can be seen in the tangible changes made to enhance their safety. From reinforced cockpit doors to improved evacuation protocols, every aspect of the flying experience has been scrutinized and refined. Airlines now go to great lengths to educate passengers about safety features, ensuring they are well prepared in case of an emergency. These changes represent a commitment to learning from past tragedies, turning lessons of loss into milestones of progress. The aviation industry also took steps to improve the durability and reliability of aircraft components. Engineers began incorporating advanced materials such as carbon fiber composites, which are lighter yet stronger than traditional aluminum alloys. These innovations reduce the likelihood of structural failures while improving fuel efficiency, marking a significant step forward in aviation technology. Aviation conferences and workshops now frequently reference Flight 870 as a case study. These forums bring together experts from various fields: engineering, psychology, meteorology, to dissect incidents and propose solutions. By fostering open dialogue and collaboration, the industry ensures that no lesson goes unlearned. Dr. Elena Martinez, an aviation safety consultant, explained, "Each incident adds to our collective understanding of aviation risks. It's a continuous process of identifying vulnerabilities and addressing them before they can lead to another tragedy. The human element of this tragedy cannot be overlooked. For the families of the passengers and crew, the legacy of Flight 870 is deeply personal. Many have become advocates for improved safety measures, channeling their grief into meaningful change. Their voices have driven reforms that have undoubtedly saved countless lives." This section provides a comprehensive exploration of the impact and legacy of British Airways Flight 870, detailing the numerous advancements in safety, technology, and international cooperation that arose from this tragic incident. The story of British Airways Flight 870 is one that stays with us not because of the technical failures, the unresolved mysteries, or the haunting questions that linger in the air, but because of the lives it touched. The tragedy left us all with an indelible sense of loss, a deep yearning for answers, and ultimately, a profound respect for the men and women who step into the unknown every day, keeping us safe in the sky. We must take a moment to reflect on the passengers and crew of British Airways 870. Their stories are not just a sequence of events in an aviation logbook, they are a testament to the lives they lived before boarding that fateful flight. From the families waiting for their loved ones to return, to the crew who gave everything they had to protect their passengers, each person on board was more than just a statistic. They were people with dreams, aspirations, and connections, people whose lives, in an instant, were cut short in a way no one could have predicted. As we honor the memory of those aboard British Airways 870, we must recognize the ripple effect that this tragedy had. It reached far beyond the immediate loss felt by families and friends. It reverberated throughout the aviation industry, sparking profound changes that will continue to benefit the millions who take to the skies every day. While we may never have the full answers about what exactly happened during those final moments, we can say with certainty that this event changed aviation forever. It ignited a global conversation about safety, technology, communication, and the human element of air travel. Aviation authorities and airline executives took to heart the lessons this incident taught us, not only implementing enhanced technologies and protocols, but also instilling a culture of transparency and collaboration across borders. The investigation into Flight 870 led to groundbreaking advancements in aircraft tracking, search and rescue protocols, cockpit communication systems, and flight data recording. But more importantly, it led to a shift in how we view aviation safety. It reminded us that every life is precious and every detail matters when it comes to ensuring the safety of those who travel by air. To the families of the victims, this is not just a story of technology and safety reforms, it is personal. It is a legacy built on the strength of their grief and the resolve to honor their loved ones. Each year, memorials are held, and each year their stories are shared anew. Though the pain of loss may never fade, these families continue to fight for the betterment of aviation, to ensure that what happened on that fateful flight never happens again. Their perseverance has resulted in tangible improvements that have already saved countless lives. As the years pass, the memory of those lost on British Airways 870 may fade from the headlines, but it will never be forgotten. The impact they had, whether it was a simple gesture, a kind word, or a quiet act of courage, will remain forever etched in the hearts of those who knew them. For those left behind, their memory continues to fuel the tireless work done in the name of aviation safety. The ripple effect of their lives extends far beyond the tragedy itself, shaping a world where air travel is safer, smarter, and more compassionate. In aviation, as in life, there is always a balance between certainty and uncertainty. We trust that planes will take us safely to our destinations, guided by pilots who have been trained to handle the unexpected. We trust that the engineers who build the aircraft have ensured that every system is designed to perform under the most extreme conditions. And we trust that the countless other professionals who work tirelessly behind the scenes will do everything in their power to make sure we arrive safely. But the tragedy of Flight 870 reminds us that, at times, things can go wrong in ways we cannot predict. It challenges us to keep pushing the boundaries of what is possible, to keep seeking answers when faced with uncertainty, and to never take safety for granted. The search for answers continues, not just for the families who have lost loved ones, but for all of us who believe in the promise of safe travel and the quest for truth. The lessons learned from British Airways Flight 870 are not confined to those directly involved in the investigation. They belong to all of us. Every time we board a flight, we carry with us the legacy of those who came before, and we honor their memory through our commitment to safety and progress. Their sacrifice is woven into the very fabric of modern aviation, a constant reminder of the importance of vigilance, preparation, and care. As we look back on the events surrounding British Airways 870, we can take solace in the fact that no life is ever truly lost in vain. Every effort made to improve aviation safety, every innovation created, and every new protocol implemented is a living tribute to those who are no longer with us. While the final chapters of Flight 870 remain untold, what we do know is that this incident left a lasting imprint on our collective consciousness. It changed the course of aviation history, driven by the passion and determination of those who refused to let this tragedy be forgotten. As we look to the future of air travel, we can rest assured that the lessons learned from Flight 870 will continue to guide the industry towards safer skies. In the years that have passed, we've seen countless advancements in technology, changes in policy, and a renewed commitment to keeping passengers safe. And with each new development, we honor the lives lost, the lessons learned, and the unwavering spirit of resilience that defines aviation. Though we may never fully understand what happened aboard British Airways 870, one thing is certain: their legacy lives on. And as we reflect on their lives, let us be reminded of the importance of safety, compassion, and the unyielding pursuit of truth in the skies.